Shalom, all praises to Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yahushai, Ba'Shem Harakah Kadash, double honors to the elder apostles, great most on that rule well, and Shalom to the hopeful elect. You know, the brothers doing this work is sincerity and truth. No, just kind of looking into the biometrics, and it's kind of plain. It's been in the background for a minute, even if it's not been as plain. Because especially going back, you go back like before like 6-7 years ago, you weren't seen as mainstream, but now it's become evident that a lot of these things are where so-called technological progress and whatnot is looking to go. So you have this on Popular Mechanics. It says the military is developing a helmet that will allow fighter pilots to maneuver their jets and fire weapons by just thinking about it. The first thing that will come to mind for me is with what's it called? The Neuralink, because that's more or less been the entire argument, the entire kind of point of what they're trying to push out there with that, where it's something like, hey, look, this technology has been developed where now it's like things that seem like science fiction, like, oh, you're gonna be lifting things, maneuvering things with your mind. You might have like a little robot arm or something, and then you'll be able to just connect it. And even you might, be able to like, if you fuck your arm up, then you'll get a little robot arm that you can put on there, and then just start, shooting laser beams. That's how people are kind of looking at these things. Will our fighters to maneuver their jets and fire weapons by just thinking about it? Yeah. And then that makes me think about as well. The hell was it called? It was called RoboCop as well. Trying to fuse man and machine. But okay, so get into it. It says military pilots fighting an enemy need to engage in complex maneuvers that take precious seconds or minutes of their time and attention. Advanced touchscreens or voice commands allow them to perform those actions faster, but it still can take precious seconds. That time could mean a difference between life or death. And yeah, it's with these technologies as well. It always starts kind of focused on a particular kind of group where you've got like the Neuralink, where they're saying it's for people that have disabled limbs or whatever, and then you have with the Neuralink thing, you have people with disabled limbs, quadriplegics or whatever, they can't move, and it's like, okay, they get this, then they can start using PCs, they can start utilizing different tools and whatnot, different technologies that they couldn't use, without, like, they ain't got they can't use a touchpad or whatever, but then they can do it with their mind. And that's kind of been, the justification, but really is they're developing their technology with broader application in mind. It's the same with these things where it's another kind of avenue, because I read into it a bit more, because it says US military researchers have a solution in mind, a high-tech helmet that connects directly to the pilot's brain without requiring surgical implants. So this is the one not requiring implants. There's been, I think there is an actual I remember seeing ages ago a like a little band thing. I think it was for sleeping, where it was like you're meant to put it around your head so it can kind of measure your brain waves when you're sleeping, to then kind of give you feedback on, ways to help you sleep and whatnot, or it will link up with like an app and then send you the technology that way. But then with these with these thingies, technologies, it's that's just a start on how it's working, and regardless, it's like the implant things. These things are being worked on in parallel. It doesn't just mean that, oh, there's how, well, it's meant to be an implant. How's that gonna, that don't line up with prophecy? But then it's all those technologies are working together, because the same thing with like contactless, uh with contactless, with RFID technology, all those NFC, near field communication. All those things are developing, but then it can all be wrapped up in the what do you call it? It can all be wrapped up within that mark to bring it all together. And that's the same with these technologies, because it says enabling two-way brain to computer communication. I think they call it what, BCI, brain computer interfacing. And it's been, because even this one, well, I'll read down. It says this helmet would interpret brainwaves and carry out multiple functions in nanoseconds. Theoretically, it could let pilots carry out sophisticated tasks, such as directing drones into combat remotely through the power of thought alone, or pilots could transmit what they see to a military base and receive information back through the helmet to their brains. And yeah, these kinds of these different kinds of means and ways of utilizing this technology, that's kind of what they desire, to be able to kind of have like, oh, okay, you can get a video feed of what someone's seeing, or you can direct the actions of someone through. And that's you have those movies like, what's the Gamer, I think is the one where you had what was it, the guy who plays Dexter, can't remember his name, and Jared Butler, where it was like, the gamers would be controlling people, and then you had one that would send instructions, one that would receive instructions, and then it in the end he basically had it so he had one that was over all the others, where he could control through his one. And that's the thing is with these technologies, there's a lot of these things will have black boxes where there'll be functions in there you didn't even know. It's like smartphones, where they kind of have like functions baked in. You have an iPhone, there'll be a bunch of like back end things baked in. You upgrade, you downgrade, unless you're cracking it and installing. And even then, it's like some of them you'd have, like with an Android, you can crack it and you can install custom firmware. But then to like even the baseline functionality before you even launch the operating system, you can flash into that. But that's like a level of complexity most people will never take. Most people kind of just deal with the technology as they get, because that's become the way that people engage with technology over time. It's like how people used to be able to, like, a car breaks down, rather than take it to a mechanic, a guy might just know, okay, I know, like, the car's straightforward and understandable enough to kind of know where it's like, okay, these things relate to the gears, the tires, the oil, the the various, the battery, whatever, various different systems. Then you can just go and like test a few things, be like, okay, that's what it is. Replace it yourself, and then you kind of have, keep in check that way. But then with like the newer technologies, they make it intentionally complex so that it's difficult for you to kind of even understand how it works. So that they essentially are like black boxes to the what do you call it, to like the consumers. But then even people that delve into these things, they're not able to even able to get to the fullness of it as well, because that's another aspect of it. They can't get the full understanding of how these things work. And then they'll kind of have those back doors that they can use to then be like, okay, well, and a lot of them, it will be the government will say, okay, we've given, there's been an incident of enough severity to where we're now doing this thing. And that's why I remember they had the what was it, the warning thing? Like the global warning thing, which I remember ages ago, it happened in like Hawaii, where it went off, where they said like a nuke had been set off, but then they had like the tests go out in the UK of like the warning system that was, just baked into every phone. And until that shit came out, no one would have really known. And then you just had that point in the day where everyone's phone was going off. I was like, damn, what the fuck was that? And I was like, yeah, I saw something about it earlier, so I didn't, turn the shit off. But then it's these things have existed, but then people aren't aware of the fullness of it. So then with these same technologies, they're saying, oh, it's gonna have, basically being, desired is Esau's trying to be like the Most High. He would love to be able to go in and, just see the inner workings of your mind and be able to just be, okay, go zap, 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 and then you'll just do whatever. So it says what the type of non-invasive neurotechnology being deployed might also enhance a brain's ability to recall key information, learn new skills faster, and even perform difficult tasks with assistance from a remote specialist. Yeah, so that's the appeal, that's the draw. And that's why it's like these things are being developed, but there's like wider application being looked at. It's not just being developed just to help pilots. Even though the military will develop it, there'll be wider application to it. And then in understanding, the more they kind of root around and understand like the layout how the brain functions, they want to be able to then like, okay, so how can we achieve X, Y, Z? Because I remember they were talking about with Neuralink being able to like, turn off fear or turn off certain responses, which is what they would love to be able to do. But then what's the reality of it? They're gonna get up to a point, but then all they're trying to accomplish, they're thinking it's gonna be the key to immortality, just superhuman feats. But it's basically his role is to become that that part of that hour of temptation, that means by which it can be separated. Those that are stand with Yahweh while Yahweh Shai, and those that are basically going to cling onto Esau. Because what does it say? In 2018, DARPA, the US military's Future Forward Research Agency, began a $125 million program called Next Generation Non-Surgical Neurotechnology. So it's not even new. This is 6 years old now, and that's the latest one, because it says which was aimed at accomplishing precisely that. In theory, the N3 helmet could create a pathway to integrate cybernetics into the military without having to insert devices into human bodies, by creating a more accessible brain-machine interface that doesn't require surgery to use. DARPA could deliver tools that allow mission commanders to remain meaningfully involved in dynamic operations that unfold at rapid speed. So it said via 16 independent channels interacting with different parts of the brain, this helmet is intended both to sense output from the wearer's brain and to transmit data to that brain using some combination of magnetic, optical, and acoustic neurotransmitters. Program documents also state a requirement to interact with 16 cubic millimeters of neural tissue within 50 milliseconds. So it's still going to be interface. The thing with this, we'll see how it goes. Because with that anyway, it sounds like they'll need to implant something anyway. But I think it's more just no surgery. They might want to just have it where it's like a needle or something you can just poke in. Because I don't know how the hell you're going to be getting, optical neural transmitters, any of those transmitters in. But I'm assuming it means like it'll be like a needle or something, rather than having to go and like drill and place, wires in the head and shit. So it says, while the final product is still possibly years away, DARPA's been working on neural projects like this one for decades, pouring more than $1 billion into neuroscience since 1973. And yeah, that's kind of the main point I was kind of wanted to go into, is that this isn't new. These are things like, this is just like a particular program that's being spoken about now. There's countless ones that would have been put in before. Like I said, from 1973. So that's what? Not 60 years? 50, about 50 years, 51 years. That's been going on. So it's obviously, these are things where it's not a brand new thing to now be researching, now be looking into these things. These are things that are, just as standard. It says, following a renewed influx of funding post-1999, DARPA research has resulted in multiple breakthroughs, starting with experiments in the 2000s in which monkeys proved capable of moving a cursor on a computer screen. So these men were doing what Neuralink was gassing up like 20 2019 or 2020. I think it was 2020 actually when they did the monkey thing. Maybe 2021. Cursor on the computer screen, and then an artificial arm through thought alone. In the next significant experiment, humans perform more complex and thought-directed tasks, such as piloting air, ground, and air vehicles, including a simulated F-35 stealth fighter. So yeah, that's the thing is we always mention with these technologies, you have the military level, then you have the civilian level. Like these men are talking about things that were being done in the 2000s, and that's just what's been publicized. That was done in the 2000s that people getting hype about in like the either late like 2019 2020 kind of range, like the around 2020. So with that, then you just look and you're like, oh, so these things are way further along. The same thing with AI, where AI, especially deepfake technology, that's something that's developed at exceptional speed. But then what with those technologies, the government funded research is going to be ahead of whatever you see in the public, because obviously as soon as they're like, oh, there's an application for this, they'll be like, oh, what, like the level of just with like the stuff you saw of like the fake Biden speech or Putin or whatever, or war declaration kind of things. It's like if that's something where they're gonna be like, yo, we need this, or like we need to be ahead of the curve on this, just so they can't be caught out there. So you're gonna know that they're gonna be far ahead from whatever the public's doing. But then, what does it say? Despite these advances, DARPA's work hasn't produced systems intended for operational use yet. There are several major obstacles. One is that prior research depended on implants to establish a direct link to the brain. For now, the military seems intent on focus on communication systems that don't require implants, the sort Elon Musk is testing with Neuralink. And yeah, it could be just like they've just offloaded it to like, okay, have, these guys, have Neuralink take care of that branch, and they're going into something else. Which says, over the past decade, DARPA-funded researchers have made several inroads towards the brain-helmet interface goal. A Johns Hopkins University allied physics laboratory team aims to develop a completely non-invasive, coherent optical system for recording from the brain, according to DARPA. So yeah, they're looking into that's the thing is these technology been looked into. When they said they had the funding push, it was like post 1999, and then no, it was 2018. In 2018, that's when they started funding it, and then it was like 2018 was actually when you did get Neuralink pop off. So they might have just offloaded it all onto Elon to kind of continue with the implant kind of pathway. And then this might just be something else they're going into. But again, it's with these things being developed, people might say, where's the promise of he's coming? Since the fathers fell asleep, there's been no promise of return. But these, when you're looking into prophecy, it's done been popping off. Like with these technologies, they've been developing it. Imagine like they said 2018 was when they started, but then it was in the 2000s was when they had like the monkey maneuvering things, and I don't remember seeing that in the mainstream back then. So it might have been something they only said like, oh, years later, oh yeah, we achieved XYZ. But then that shows what you see in the mainstream news, you see presented to the public. That's not going to be the fullness of everything that's going on. Isaiah 31:1, it says, woe to them that go down to Egypt for help, and stay on horses and trust in chariots, because they are many, and in horsemen, because they are very strong, but they look not unto the Holy One of Israel, neither seek the Lord Yahweh. So yeah, woe to them that go down to Egypt. And that's really going to be, the separation. Are you going to trust in Egypt? You can trust in, Esau, Edom, that new Egypt in America, or are you going to trust in Yahweh Hashem Yahushai? Because it says what? Yet he also is wise and will bring evil and will not call back his words, but will arise from the house of the evildoers and against the help of them that work iniquity. Now the Egyptians are men and not God, and their horses flesh and not spirit. When the Lord Yahweh shall stretch out his hand, both he that helpeth shall fall, and he that is hoping shall fall together, and they shall all fail together. So yeah, and that's part of, that mark is that basically being taken as some form of ease or aid from the hour of temptation. Those hardships, those trials, those tribulations, those struggles. It's basically, you taking that mark is looking for some kind of, removal of that burden. But the reality of it is what? You're basically tying yourself down with Esau's fate. You're bonding yourself. You're saying, yo, I love my master. I don't want to be apart from him. Revelation 13:3, and it says what? And I saw one of his heads, as it were, wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast. And yeah, that's, you had that Roman Empire brought to an end, but then what? It had its rebirth, it had its renaissance, it came back. And then what? The whole world wondered after the beast. And that's, this technology Esau's gotten, the means, the military capabilities, his rule, the establishment of America, the means by which you can get rich, make money, and live a certain lifestyle. All those things are part of what, people marvel over. And they worship the dragon that gave power unto the beast, and they worship the beast, saying, who is like unto the beast, who's able to make war with him? And yeah, that's, ancient Rome is what military might. The fact it was able to, expand, militarily and grow such a great empire. That's part of what has people enraptured with it at the time, and even, to now. And the same thing with America. That military capability, those nuclear capabilities, aircraft carriers, different, plane technologies, air superiority, all these kinds of things are what, draw people in and have them think like, ooh. But that's, all in vain. Because all these things being developed, all this work being done is essentially creating a humongous example to be made to show just how great Yahweh Hashem Yahushua Hashem Rakakadash is. That's really the wrong. Obadiah 1 and 3, it says, the pride of thine heart hath deceived thee, thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock, whose habitation is high, that saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground? Though thou exalt thyself as an eagle, and though thou set thy nest among the stars, thence will I bring thee down, saith the Lord Jehovah. And yeah, all Esau's been able to establish, this guy was in the caves, but now he's been brought out, he's been cleaned up, he's been given a rule, he's got the capability to go among the stars, he's got technology to be able to shoot, drone strike, locations off the face of the planet Earth, having nuclear capabilities, where he's looking, he's like, y'all could cease, it could be like there was never any land, never anyone inhabiting that, that location. You can just drop a bomb and it'll be like, damn, you wouldn't even think there could have been one of the most elaborate, illustrious cities on the face of the planet Earth, and then they reduce it to a desert. And that, that's in his hands. He really is puffed up off that. He really is prideful off that. And that's really what that mark technology is, an extension of that pride, where he thinks, okay, well, I'm going to be able to establish myself as XYZ. But then the reality of it's going to be what? It's all, to make yourself an example. If thieves came to thee, if robbers by night, how art thou cut off? Would they have not stolen till they had enough? If the grape gatherers came to thee, would they not leave some grapes? How are the things of Esau searched out? How are his hidden things sought up? All the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee. There is none understanding in him. And yeah, all the men of thy confederacy. That confederacy is another form of pride. Basically having, the whole world under his order, following after him. That's a big aspect of what Esau desires. But then what was to say, they that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee. And yeah, there's basically a trap that's been set. There's a snare. It's you've been hoodwinked. Because everything seemingly working as it seems is all that's going to be overthrown. There's none understanding in him. Shall I not in that day, saith the Lord Jehovah, even destroy the wise men out of Edom, and understanding out of the mount of Esau, and thy mighty men, O Teman, shall be dismayed. To the end that every one of the mount of Esau shall be cut off by slaughter. And yeah, that's the end goal. It comes back to violence, because that's how Esau's power was established. The blessing received was what? The sword. By the sword shalt thou live. And that's the means by which you're going to be able to get your kingdom, which, you indulged in and received there. But then you've marked yourself with the judgment at the end of that. But yeah, I'll leave it there. Shalom. Yabashim Shab Shim Kakadash Bakata.